You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast
delivering player experience news.
Let's go! What's up, guys, and welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 217. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on still Twitter, and I'm joined over Discord by the Nintendo aficionado and artist extraordinaire, Roshan Warner, at Roro.
Hello.
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 We're all British for a day. For a quick minute, we are joined also by the host of Large Popcorn and video essayist, Christian Macias, at ISO Christian, _ISO Christian.
Thank you. Reporting live from New York, all of us East Coast brethren today. Also, I have a new title now, but I don't know if I can say it yet or announce it yet.
Oh. As in, like, you're not allowed if the company will allow you?
I don't know if I mean, it's not, I mean, we'll find out soon.
Stay tuned.
Exciting.
Okay.
Stay tuned for Christian's future title. And the DMZ daddy, the Tarkov Teletubby, everything else, you know, I don't want to say the third thing that I wanted to say when I found out you were playing a certain game. Gage Dempster at Gilbo Biggins.
What was the third thing that you didn't want to say? What is it?
The Modern Warfare 3 simp.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
fair.
no.
See, but like sometimes you need to say it because that deserves to be said. It deserves to be said. Otherwise, I'm never going to learn my lesson in the future. That's sometimes you need harsh punishment. Yeah, it's, you know, we're hanging in there.
The one time you listen to Gee, and that's where it gets you.
That was really my first and last mistake, is
where-
listening to fucking Gizmo.
And where does that lead you? Back to me.
Right.
Thank you to everyone watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/@podcastpxn and twitch.tv/podcastpxn as well. The topic of the show this week, guys, is the Game Awards 2023 nominations and maybe some snubs. I mean, we got some snubs there. But first, the show always starts with the quick bites, so let's go ahead and jump right in. The first quick bite, guys, 46.5 million PlayStation 5s have been announced to be shipped, and we also got news that Marvel's Spider-Man 2 has sold more than 5 million copies. PlayStation 5 going strong.
I think I saw that Spider-Man 2 was the top-selling game in October.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. I think you're right.
But I think Modern Warfare 3 also sold a lot of copies as well, right? I saw competing NPD numbers. Someone was saying Spider-Man 2 is the best, but also I saw like Call of Duty still, holding on strong.
Call of Duty's not until November, right?
Right. No,
Yeah.
I'm confused. It was Modern Warfare 2, Warzone, and the Modern Warfare 3 beta. All of them. So Call of Duty in general was like the most played.
Got it.
Can you imagine what the numbers are going to be for GTA 6 whenever that comes? So, like,
Insane.
that's something.
You know what else is something? Unity has issued a warning of layoffs, office closures, and products being discontinued. They sent out a guidance that says we are committed to a customer-first business model. This business model is enabled by the right product portfolio, the right initiatives, and clear focus. And when executed with excellence, which hasn't been happening, this business model is designed to deliver faster revenue growth, improved profitability metrics, and increased free cash flow. The exact timing of these interventions is difficult to estimate. We are therefore not providing guidance for the fourth quarter or the year of 2023. We will provide guidance for 2024 with our fourth quarter and full year 2023 results. At that time, we will also share more details on our operational interventions, which are expected to gradually improve our results. Okay. Well, that's a lot. Mouthful there. Not good.
No.
Unity. Yucky.
Yeah. John Riccatello is just like, let me just light the match and throw it and then fucking leave and sell all my stock before I do that,
Right.
Somehow that man's not in jail. But we also have in the same sadness here. Amazon has also reportedly said that they're laying off 180 employees from its games division. This comes by way of Nathan Grayson on Twitter, and he's one of the co-founders of Aftermath, which they just started not that long ago. He's already breaking some news, so that's cool. Obviously not cool what the news is, but more layoffs there.
I guess they've kind of pivoted into publishing now, right? They're doing the Tomb Raider games and stuff, but they like developed that one game, Crucible.
The MOBA, yeah, right.
Yeah. And then they just stopped.
They're like, that's enough. That's enough. Yeah.
Obviously, it takes a while to make games, but it seems like they're just stopping with that part. And Luna, remember Luna?
Right, right.
Yeah.
What I don't understand about the video game development pipeline is that if you do bring a game to bear, like they did with Crucible, why not try and give it the old, college try in terms of support? You've done the hard part, from what I understand about video game development. You've done the 4 or 5 years. The game launched, and within 6-8 months, they were ending support for it. Like, why not actually give it a? I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. But I'm not a CEO, so what do I know?
Yeah, they also had New World, which one of my coworkers said that he played New World a bunch back in the day, and I'm like, no, I don't care about that game.
The time for MMOs has passed for me. I don't have time for that.
Yeah. And the third,
Dan is too busy forfeiting matches in Halo.
That's true. He does forfeit matches when he starts losing. Yeah,
we'll talk about that. I'm gonna be having some thoughts about that. Christian Sneeb's stream sniper Macias is what Kira calls you.
Why? What am I doing?
You stream snipe, I guess, the stream.
Before you joined the stream, you were stream sniping.
Yeah.
You're a little sniper no sniping.
Yes.
You had to bring in the Latino for that reference, huh?
I'm glad you caught that. That's good.
Our last bit of terrible layoff news. Digital Bros Entertainment had some layoffs, which you may be like, who the fuck is that? Which I said that, They're apparently the parent company behind publishers like 505 Games and others, and they plan to let go of 30% of their workforce. They will now focus on established franchises and sequels and less on new IP due to selective post-COVID market.
Wonderful.
I love that we can't get away from we just can't get away from COVID. Either it was this game XYZ happened because of COVID, and now we're in a post-COVID excuse cycle. Like I really can't. Yeah, no new IP, less new IP. That sounds no bueno. Not liking that.
I saw somebody tweeting today, almost kind of just kind of blowing the load a little bit early, since you guys talking about TGS a little bit later. Positing like, what is the journalistic integrity for Jeff Keighley to talk about mass layoffs at the TGS today? Because you can't like celebrate games, obviously, without like the developers, right? Like the people that make the games. At the same time, we have like so many layoffs this week, but also in the past year, like so many, like thousands of people have been laid off this year in the games industry. Was trying to hold Jeff accountable in some capacity, when you have that platform.
Was it 2019? I feel like it was 2019 when the Activision allegations started coming out, and Jeff surprisingly did address that at that Game Awards. I remember not
Did he do that?
Not he didn't say Activision, but like he came out at the beginning of the show and said like we need to like support developers, and he had that whole spiel. So hopefully he'll maybe help point to that as one of the issues.
He is in a tight, because he's not quite a journalist. Like it's tough because he is in a tough position where he is probably working with a lot of these companies that are probably like maybe if Bungie has a reveal there. So if he's working with these companies, they're obviously not going to want him to. They're going to be like, yeah, you can keep a tight lip on that. So he's got a tightrope to walk. I think it's tough, and I don't know. Like, I personally would want him to acknowledge this. I would want it to be top of the show. Like, hey, this is what's going on with developers. This sucks. That's what I personally want. But like, I don't know. Like, he's also kind of like a host and not necessarily reporter type thing. Like I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough line for him to walk. But I'm glad that you brought that up, Dan, because I thought that was a good moment when he did bring up those allegations and all that. And hopefully he'll do the same now, because it's funny. The award show is also kind of for the people that make games, and that they're the ones accepting the awards.
Yeah.
So there's kind of that double emphasis on developers. So you'd hope that he would acknowledge what's going on.
There was a whole issue with the Destiny being nominated for best ongoing support when the entire most of the community team at Bungie got laid off. So who's going to even go and accept that award if they get it? That's another question. But like, yeah, I agree with Christian. I hope that he at least addresses that at the beginning. Kojima's a different story, but even when Kojima was going through with his stuff with Konami, he made a mention of that. Obviously, they have like a bromance going on. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did mention it in some capacity. Maybe not specifically name companies, but at least make a mention of how rough the year has been.
Yeah,
right.
I hope, because he's been saying some weird stuff on Twitter as well, just like with not specifically this stuff, but just like in general with AI and just random stuff. Yeah,
right.
But we'll see. Which I'm sure he stands with the industry on this specific topic. Hopefully.
And Rose foreshadowing for our topic of the show when we maybe talk
about
that.
I wasn't going to mention that until then, Dan.
No.
I didn't
even know it was foreshadowing.
No,
you're way out of line.
It's perfect foreshadowing, you know?
My bad. There's a little tease. I meant to do that.
All right. Moving on, Alan Hartman has been named the new head of Xbox Game Studios, so another domino falls there. Alan has been the head of Turn 10 for a very long time for who make the Forza games. So hopefully this will help the first party studios get a little better. I'm still not crazy about Matt Booty, who has more, power now, but we'll see. See what happens. Speaking of Xbox, though, Xbox Series S's version of Baldur's Gate 3 may have inadvertently actually helped the other platforms. We also got a release date as well, so I'll talk about the other stuff in a second. The release date is coming to the Game Awards. They will have a reveal apparently at the Game Awards for this, which I think is a little odd to have an announcement at the Game Awards for an Xbox release date, but maybe they announce it with like an expansion or something like that. So stay tuned for that. And the whole Series S thing, I thought this was fascinating because apparently the developers, when they were kind of optimizing the game for Series S, they found a 34% VRAM optimization while developing the port. And that could very much directly benefit the performance on PC, Series X, and PS5 as a result. And actually, the interesting part as well is that a lot of people have been, shitting on Series S, and we did it ourselves, I feel like, a few weeks ago, saying, like, should Series S be a thing? Like, is this holding things back? But, like, in this case, maybe it actually is going to benefit overall, because I think PC and PS5 have had some performance issues, which I think they've been patching. So, I don't know. None of us know. None of us know.
I don't know.
Well, stay tuned for that. We'll see when that releases and see how that's optimized. But we know how this is optimized. Halo 3 Refueled playlist has arrived in Halo Infinite. And guys, of course I'm going to bring this up, we got a look at, 8 maps returning to Halo Infinite. I'm sorry, 7 returning, 1 new map. The one map is a Mountain Dew themed map. Yes, because they're partnered with Mountain Dew. Whatever. The other 7 maps are remakes of Halo 3 maps: Guardian, High Ground, Construct, Narrows, Blackout, The Pit, and Isolation. All great maps. I love this so much. I played a ton of this last night and was enjoying the hell out of it. The only problem that I have is the Guardian map. The frame rate drops like 30 frames, and I was not liking that at all. So they
Oh
needed.
no, I'm only playing at 90 frames per second.
It makes a difference though when like I could feel it. Like I was like, what the fuck's going on? And I have the frame rate counter up all the time, so I know. I was like, it's at 90. It should be a fucking 120. But yeah.
Gage.
The Mountain Dew map is exactly what I imagined.
Yes, it is straight. Yeah, green.
Just green and green juice to walk in.
Yeah.
I love it.
Why would you
Nicole?
describe it that way?
I don't know.
It's
just-
soda,
just,
you know?
green
Green
soda
juice.
is carbonated juice.
The man's
No.
correct. Yes.
No. It's like syrup and carbonated water.
It's
If
juice.
I melt syrup, is it juice?
You want my juice?
I want
my
your
syrup?
syrup.
My man syrup?
Jesus
Oh no.
Christ. Here we go. Let's just move
The
on.
Man syrup. I
Me-
can't believe it.
Let's just move on. Remedy.
My chorizo?
Remedy has updated us on one of their next games, which will be ditching free to play. The game codenamed Kestrel has been described as a premium game with a strong cooperative multiplayer component, and this reboot has resulted in the new codename of Kestrel. So this seems to be a good thing, I guess. There's pluses and minuses to free to play. I feel like we've talked about before. I know Gage and I have adamantly talked about it in regards to Halo. But yeah, pluses and minuses. But you know, at the end of the day, if this is not free to play, that should indicate less microtransaction-y like bullshit. But
Hopefully.
I guess we'll
One
see.
would hope.
Yeah.
I can't see the doc for obvious reasons, but do you have the story in about a different game that's okay? Rose nodding yes.
I'm guessing you're talking about the one
Yes.
that stars a DC
Yeah.
character.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Which why not move?
Well, he has both of
I
them.
hate
The
that.
Wonder
It's
Woman
fine.
one and a different one.
Why not move right into that one then? Job listings have posted that point to Monolith's Wonder Woman game having a live service component being added to it.
Who wants that? Who wants that?
Warner Brothers.
Wonder Woman.
Goodness.
Warner Brothers is a shit company on like film side and game side.
Gal Gadot wants
Jesus.
that live service money.
Oh god. And I was so excited too when they described it as they were taking influence from the Shadow Mortar games for the combat or the melee stuff. Like that sounded kind of neat. But it could still have that, but I don't know. The live service part kind of lessens the excitement a little bit.
I don't want a Wonder Woman game as like a job, you know? I want like 15-hour story at most and then like on to the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
How much time can you spend with Wonder Woman? Let's be honest. Let's be real. I don't know. This doesn't seem like a character that has like years and years and years of like fans clamoring for more lore of like it seems like that would be the perfect God of War equivalent for a superhero game. Like you play as Wonder Woman, you kick ass, you get in, you get out, you're done.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Like that's but I have a feeling like and also is Square Enix's Avengers the only live service superhero game that we have to go by so far? Because I can't help but feel when somebody says live service superhero game, I get like a little clammy.
I guess
Gotham Knights is somewhere in the middle, right?
That's true.
And I
Which
guess
also had mixed reviews, right? Like that wasn't super overwhelmingly positive either.
I guess if you count DC Universe Online or whatever,
Right.
MMO.
I can't help but feel like how when people say that Superman is a hard video game to make because it's hard to balance that kind of thing, I also feel that logic applies to making a superhero live service game where a game genre that's based around grinding and having to level up doesn't really translate to you're supposed to be a superhuman capable of all these great things, but you've got to punch this guard 16 times because you haven't leveled up your gauntlets left. Like it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know.
Silly.
A little bit silly. Feels like it.
Yeah.
He's back.
So speaking of live services, we have one more to talk about here. Suicide Kill the Justice League has gotten a new story and gameplay trailer, which dropped today. The full trailer was, I think, or video walkthrough, whatever you want to call it, was about 20 minutes long. I watched about maybe half of it or so. I think it actually, for me, it looks a little bit better than what we've seen before. But I'm still struggling with the entire concept of this game. I don't really see myself getting excited about a third-person action shooter in this universe. And that's exactly how they described it in this video. So I'm like, yeah, that doesn't get me excited for a superhero game. Let me go shoot people. Like, what?
Yeah, the movement looked actually really good graphically wise. It looked great as well. I saw some comparisons to like Fortnite's movement in like the Unreal Engine, and there are some similarities to that. But if I want that, I'll get that from other games. Like I don't want this from like a Rockstar, Rocksteady DC game. Right, you nailed it. Even though it does look better than when we saw it last year, I guess. It's been a while now. It's not something I want either.
Yeah. I'm worried that I feel like it does look better, I agree, but I feel like it might be, I feel like they may have just presented it better. I feel like it's still the same gameplay that we saw back then, but in nicer, I guess. I'm still not, I'm with you guys. Like it looks better, but at the same time, I don't want this type of game from them. And it sucks because I like the story. I think the story is a cool idea, but I would just like it to be, like you guys were mentioning with Wonder Woman, like a God of War style third-person action game. That would be so cool.
And it's planning to release still February? In an extremely crowded month when already so many games are going to be fighting for a time, and that's just something that's going to fall by the wayside for me.
Right.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Something we hope doesn't fall by the wayside. Ark Survival Ascended Xbox Series S and X release date got delayed at literally the last second. Like it was supposed to come out yesterday. Apparently, Studio Wildcard, who's the developer, said it's still going through the certification process, which means it's not coming out as planned today. They said they expect the game to come out on Xbox and Windows PC later this week, but it sounds like a further delay could be on the cards. We'll update with a more precise time when we have it. So, like, there's a little last minute to be like, oh, the game's not coming out. I know it was supposed to come out today, but yeah, it's not.
There's no way in an industry that's this old now, and with a studio that's released multiple games, there's no way they don't know at least roughly how long the certification process takes.
Right.
Like this smells like, no, you guys don't have your shit in order. You guys, there's something wrong, something going on. Because there's no way that with all these games releasing, there's obviously some sort of pipeline and timeline they can rely on for certification. So I think, and then for them to say, sorry, we're delaying it because certification is still happening, but also it might not release this week either. So like, yeah, this smells like, this reeks like bullshit. I don't know what's going on.
A lot of the people seem to have expected this for some reason, like the fans, at least in this article, who are like, we're not surprised at all. You could have convinced me that this was intentional. A lot of the people responding to the delay on Twitter, which is, I'm not familiar with the game, so I don't know. But it does seem like something fishy is going on.
Yeah, they have a long history. They were famously, when they released Ark Survival Evolved, they were one of the early access games that got a lot of criticism because they were a team that was like releasing paid DLC before the game had left early access. They had like 4 or 5 new map packs, and they're all like $30 each. Like, the studio's fucked around a little bit in the past, so that's why my spidey senses are going off here.
Speaking of games that are releasing DLC before it's out, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora has announced it's getting a season pass, which unlocks an exclusive bonus quest at launch. So revealed in a trailer. Do what?
Huh?
Oh, I don't know. Revealed in a trailer, we found out that it will feature 2 story expansions launching by the end of 2024, alongside an exclusive quest at launch that's locked away from players who don't own the season pass. Nice. The season pass is $40, an extra $40, or it can be included in the gold edition of the game at $110. My God. The first story pack, The Skybreaker, launches in summer 2024 and takes players on a journey alongside the nomadic Zeswa clan as they venture into new areas of the Upper Plains. Things soon unfold, however, as a grand gathering of clans, that sounds awful, is interrupted by a mysterious shadow in the sky. The second story pack, Secrets of the Spies, launches in fall 2024 and introduces a completely new region for players to explore. The Resources Development Administration has already begun its destructive mining here, though, and it's the player's job to stop it. And this, Christian, is the game on your fantasy critic.
I've only got one thing to say. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
Let's get it done, baby. No, this sucks. I don't know what this game is going to look like. You know, it's essentially a new IP. I mean, I say new IP. It's obviously not brand new intellectual property, but we haven't seen this kind of game from them. I forget who's making this, but it's the creative team from the Division.
Massive, I think. Yeah,
man. Thank you. That's so scummy to be. That's so like.
Yeah.
What Ubisoft, I think, right? It owns them. Right? Yeah, of course. Yeah, this sucks. This does not give me any confidence for the game releasing in 2 to 3 weeks from now. Okay, I still gotta support it though. It's on my fantasy critic. I gotta hope this thing does well.
Right. I know you were reading it word for word, so it's not on you. But I love my favorite plots involve when things unfold. I really look forward to things unfolding.
Things are unfolding. Yeah.
That's what really got me excited in that little paragraph.
Yeah.
Incredible. Moving into the PXN news of the week, Bloomberg has reported that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 was developed in just 16 months. Some staff at Sledgehammer Games says the title was initially pitched to them as an expansion. Of course, that's what we've been hearing, but quickly changed into a full premium title. Other staff says it was left up in the air as to if it was an expansion or a full release. From Bloomberg report here, the process was hurried because this year's game was conceived to fill a gap in the release schedule following the delay of another Call of Duty title previously planned for 2023, which is interesting. Modern Warfare 3 was originally pitched to staff at Foster City, California-based Sledgehammer Games as an expansion to last year's title, but it morphed into a full sequel during development. An Activision spokesman denied that Modern Warfare 3 was originally an expansion, and it was conceived as a premium game from the start. That's bullshit. But more than a dozen current and former Call of Duty developers said that conflicts with what they were told at the time. Some of the employees said that the plan was left ambiguous during the first few months of development, while others said that they were directly told it was an expansion. All said they were under the impression it was an expansion until much later in the process.
I saw online speculation that supposedly the transition from Modern Warfare 3 turning from a DLC into like a premium product, I think supposedly had something to do with, despite numbers of people, like a large amount of people actually playing Modern Warfare 2, was the reception and then like the numbers kind of falling. Why is Rose smiling? Why are you smiling?
Me?
Oh, sorry, I thought you were
I'm just
smiling.
naturally like this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like supposedly, I know Gage liked it, but like, there's a lot of like fan reception that was mostly negative from a lot of people, compared to like Modern Warfare 2019 and some of the previous Modern Warfare titles. Like they kind of, a lot of hatred for the new movement system introduced in Modern Warfare 2 that kind of Activision decided to pivot and just kind of force Sledgehammer to go from like, we need to get away from building on Modern Warfare 2 and just build something new entirely for what fans are actually wanting. And so hence they just shortened timeline, which sucks for the developers of Sledgehammer.
Yeah.
We do have a new chatter in the Twitch stream. He says, I agree, it's a total scam on consumers. They should have dropped it in a multi-part DLC like the old COD days. Yeah, probably would have been received a bit better.
We're just not going to read the.
No, yes, I'm just ignoring that one right there. Yep, I don't know what that was, but
what did it say?
Well, you can go to the Twitch and find.
So somebody type in our PXN chat what it was. I want to know what it was.
Oh my gosh. So
Go ahead, Dad.
moving on to our other PXN news item of the week. Steam Deck OLED has been announced. They also announced a limited transparent edition, which that looks pretty sick. I always like the little transparent controllers and such, so that's cool. So they announced the new Steam Deck OLED priced at $549. It has a larger 7.4-inch 90 hertz OLED display with HDR, 50% more battery life, which that's pretty fucking huge, and a bunch more changes as well. Gage?
How many inches?
Oh, sorry. What?
How many inches?
It is 7.4 inches.
That's above average.
Yeah. Gage, does this get you into wanting one of these? I know you were
What does Christian or the news story?
I mean, either one, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
So the news story, I'm definitely very yeah. No, I'm at this point. I'm waiting for Steam Deck 2. I was
fair.
surprised that I didn't cave and splurge and buy this, and I've waited long enough now that I'm pretty sure. If I were to guess, the time from Steam Deck launch till now is probably the same amount of time until we get Steam Deck 2. So at this point, like the UI, the efficiency of this is really impressive. I'm just waiting for the horsepower to kind of catch up. Like I need this to be something that I can plug into my 4K TV and at least have it run somewhat decently. Whereas right now we have a machine that's designed to run games at 800p, and you can't really use that anywhere other than just handheld mode. So, very excited to see Steam continuing doing Steam things. Surprise announcement of a new iteration of your console that has a much better screen and much better battery life for the same amount of price. That's the type of stuff that we should be rewarding and applauding, because the industry is filled with the opposite. So good stuff. Not quite for me.
What are you trying to say? Is this some kind of dig at other handheld devices that may have
No,
recently
I wouldn't suggest that there's other handheld devices that nickel and dime their consumers with subscription services and time-gated content. I wouldn't dare to even suggest that. I'm just saying that Steam is doing a good job. That's all I'm saying.
I like the new
Wow.
I like the new thumb pads. If that's what they are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they
or
got
not,
new
not
sticks
thumb
apparently.
pads.
The cursor thing.
The God, what is it called? The ones that are usually arrows on this. It is the
Touchpad?
D-pad, right?
D-pad?
Oh.
It is the D-pad, right? The ones that aren't the thumbsticks.
No, those are trackpads, I
Those are-
think, right?
The
Yeah.
trackpad. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
a
the little-
mouse.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it.
They
I
kind
like
of
the seats. Very nice.
they kind of experimented with that with their Steam controller a while back, but
Yeah, it had like the two circular
yeah,
that were just pads, right? Yeah.
very interesting. Steam Deck 2. Gage might be in.
Christian's still grilling me over my comments. Look at him.
He's grilling you. What do you mean?
He is. He's staring right at me.
I am, actually. I was looking at you.
All
Come to
right.
bed, dude. Come to bed.
Say less.
Into our fantasy draft check-in, gentlemen. We've got a lot going on here in the fantasy draft world. I mean,
Do we all have a lot going on?
I mean,
Though?
except Gage. 'cause,
3 of us,
Right,
too.
right.
Gage
right.
blew his whole load in the first week.
I did blow my load
Yeah.
early. That's something that I am known for. Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, here we go. This
Me
pod-
earlier today.
Oh, jeez. Oh, all right. So we got 2 games with reviews. Super Mario RPG, and please correct me if I missed one. I tried to look to make sure and there was no others. I don't think there is, but not quite yet. Super Mario RPG got an 85 on OpenCritic, so I will take 15 points once that becomes official. And Persona 5 Tactica. Oh, yeah, I love that franchise. Persona 5. I played them all. No, I'm just kidding. That game gave me 8 points. It has a 78 on OpenCritic. So that'll add a little bit of points there. Actually, I think that went down a point. It was 79 the last I saw.
Both went down. I think Mario was 86.
I can't afford that. That's 23 points. So I'm going to be sitting at 198 if those scores don't go down, and Christian is sitting at 185. This man is going to win if Avatar, all Avatar has to do is be a somewhat decent game.
It's massive. It has some massive ambitions. Or I guess I also drafted that indie game that came out last week. Thank God that it does not have enough reviews, because the 3 reviews that it currently has aren't very great. And I think I'm still holding out hope that Silk Song stealth launches at the Game Awards. I don't see that happening, but I'm still holding out hope. If that doesn't happen, I've got something in my sleeve just in case for the end of the year.
Damn.
I'm actually. I hope that Gunhead gets a couple more reviews. I might have to.
Stop.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to start a review company. Yeah, right now I'm going to somehow find a way to get credible and fucking get Gunhead reviews put up, and you're going to get a shit review for that. Just kidding. If only I had that kind of power, that'd be cool.
This guy talks about cheating immediately. If only I had this power, I would cheat to win this
that's like a gray
meaningless competition.
That's a gray area, right? I mean, is it cheating? You know?
Would you even play the game, or you're just like write a bad review?
No, I'd play it, right? Yeah.
What if you ended up loving it? Would you still write a bad review?
Yeah, I actually love the game. I give it a 10 out of 10. Okay, and Wordless Row. That game is coming out very soon, the 21st. We'll see if that game gets some good scores. You know?
Oh my god.
What?
That first time chatter comment is crazy.
Oh, jeez.
And I have an answer. I won't say it.
No.
But I do have
Somebody
an answer.
send it, please.
Join us for the post show. You have to stick around for the post show, Voodoo, if you want to hear the answer, if you're still here.
Wait. I mean, isn't there only one answer and one acceptable answer to that question?
You'd be surprised, bro. You'd be surprised.
Oh god.
Yeah. I mean, find out in the post show. All right, guys. Moving into what you got for me, Daniel. What you got for me? I've finished a fucking video game. Let's go. Spider-Man 2, 100%ed it. Let's go. Very much enjoyed my time with the game. As I talked about last week, the deeper I got into it, the more noticeable and more annoying the bugs got. But overall, I very much enjoyed it. I think it has its problems, I think. And I definitely think that the first game is a better game as a whole, but there's things that I like better about number 2 than number 1. And I think the combat's better. I know you guys disagree.
Sure. No, hey, I walked that back.
Yeah.
Last time.
That's fair.
I didn't walk that back. That shit's annoying.
I also started Alan Wake 2, but I'm only about an hour and a half, 2 hours in. So, yeah. You didn't even have to do that, Christian, because I'm not going to even say anything. He can't hear me right now.
He can't hear you. He's just off in...
he's off in La La Land. He's just going to stare at the screen. There he is. I wasn't going to say anything because I haven't played enough to really form an opinion on it yet. So, but yeah, probably more craziness coming from that game.
Yep.
Ro, what you got for me?
I haven't played anything again. I'm so sorry.
That's fair. That's totally fair. You got videos cooking though. You know, you're always cooking them up.
Always making something.
Oh yeah.
Working on stuff, but no video games, unfortunately, yet. But I want to play RPG, Mario RPG. I would love to do that.
Oh yeah. Christian, what you got for me?
I was supposed to have been playing Mario Wonder already. I bought that through HSN on sale, and then they delayed my copy. And then they said it was supposed to come in the Tuesday before I left to the East Coast, and then that got delayed by 2 days. So it arrived the day that I left, like literally 2 hours after my plane departed, I got an email saying it's been delivered. It's like, well, useless to me now until I get back. So no Mario Wonder. But yeah, I did go to Boston, ran the half Mary, and while I was in Boston, I was hanging out with my friend Spencer. We ran the half marathon together, and he's got a Switch, and so we loaded that bad boy up. Got some rounds of Mario Golf in while he was on a gummy. What else? I played the new Super Mario Strikers to finally get a chance to test that out, and I confirmed that I did not like it as much as I remember my time with the GameCube version of Super Mario Strikers. It was all right. I don't like the gear-based system. That kind of
They're putting that in everything now, eh?
that was too much for me. I don't think it needed that, and I wasn't a huge fan of the way the smaller stadiums and then the mashup of the stadiums quite didn't work for me. But the actual gameplay core was pretty fun. I was giggling as I was playing. And then I jumped into Fortnite OG on Switch, and if you've ever played Fortnite on Switch, it's god awful. I would not recommend it to you. It's probably runs better on like iPhone or something. And yeah, I was actually doing pretty good. I had like around 10 kills with the Pro Controller. I was doing okay. And then I used one of those like order rifts, or like a rift to go. Or I don't know, one of the things where you like pop the rift and like you get to Thank you. Yeah, and when I landed, I was unable to use any of my guns. I couldn't pull like the trigger anymore. Something happened, and so I lost the fight. And I was like, "Cool, this is Fortnite OG on Switch. I'll do one more, and then that was it."
Here's the
Did
crazy.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, here's the crazy part, Christian. It actually runs better on Switch than iPhone or Android because it's not on those platforms.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yes.
Surprisingly, though, if you hadn't corrected him, I would have just totally thought that it was.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it's not at this point.
Well, it was, but they had to pull it.
The lawsuit. The lawsuit.
Right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Same.
Still ongoing.
Oh, longer than the Activision Blizzard thing. Would have thought.
Yeah.
Would have thought.
Gage, what you got for me?
I don't. I do have something for you. It's wild. This one's gonna rock Christian and Rose socks off because it's totally out of left field. I was sitting there. Yeah, get ready. You're joking, but I'm not. Hey, I don't know. I hit this slump, and I'm like, I don't really want to play anything. Let's backtrack a little bit. I spent $100 on Modern Warfare 3, like an an absolute buffoon. That was ridiculous. That was a horrible waste of money. Don't buy the game. Don't buy it. It's not good.
Who told you that?
Yeah, Guillermo told me to fucking buy the game, and that's the first and last time I'm gonna listen to him about anything. But aside from that, I was sitting there. I was like, got home from work early. Like, I want to play something. I don't want to play any AAA games. I just need to have it. I just need to do something different. And so I got to the PlayStation Store, and I bought Dynasty Warriors 8.
What the fuck, dude?
I thought you were about to say Signalis or something, and I was so excited.
No, I should. No, I know I should because you guys have recommended that game to me, and that's probably what I should have bought. I don't know.
Warriors.
I don't know. I was like, you know what? I want to play a Musou game. I want to just have 600 enemies on screen that I don't have to think about and just demolish all of them with just. And you know what? It's certainly a game. It is one of the games of all time, and I don't know if I'm done playing it though. Like I feel like I might have to keep playing it. But Gage is playing. Just so we're all clear, Gage is playing Dynasty Warriors 8. That's what Gage is playing.
That's what I was going to ask you. Which one it was?
Because I wanted to. Well, that was the thing. I wanted to play a Musou game, and so I looked up all where the ratings were sitting at for each one. And 9 has mixed ratings on Steam. 8 has very positive, so I was like, cool. I'll
so
buy
you did
8.
user research on this. You didn't just like blindly just buy one. It was premeditated purchase.
I looked at consumer index reports. Yeah, it's a bit it's a bit silly. I don't know how I got here, but I'm here. I'm playing Dynasty Warriors 8.
I love it.
For $20?
Yeah.
Not full price, might I say, not $60. You know, it's on for $20. So
you should have gone for Game Award nominee Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Oh,
is that a Musou game?
I guess not. Could be though, for all we know.
Right.
Who knows?
Christian, Glenn says, "Bro, Christian, no new Mario Strikers will ever stand close to GameCube Mario Strikers."
That's true. Also, Mario, the baseball one was also fucking sick.
Yeah.
Sluggers. I don't know.
Yeah.
They were in their
Is that the
prime
name?
in the GameCube era. They were in their prime.
Also, I'm going to throw this in here because I completely forgot to say this one during my segment, and I apologize. So I was playing Halo Infinite.
Bro, forgot about Halo.
I forgot, yeah. Well,
Hey,
yeah.
so did the rest of the community.
This is
bro.
weird.
Let's go.
We really are in the end
Christian,
times, huh?
fuck
So,
yeah.
so did Jeff Keighley. It's fine.
Fuck off. We'll talk about that in a minute. I was playing Halo Infinite, ranked doubles, because ranked doubles just rotated in for the new event that just started. And I was like, yeah, I'm feeling some doubles. So I dove into some ranked doubles, played a few matches. I think I had four of my 5 placement matches, which makes it even more ironic because once you hit your 5th, it ranks you. So I start the match, right off the bat. I die, my teammate dies. 2-0, okay? My teammate fucking quits at 2-0, literally 30 seconds into the match starting. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This is now 1 versus 2. I have no chance to win. So then I was just like, I walked out and where I knew they were at, and I was just fucking around, like crouching in front of them, like, hey guys, what's up? And they started crouching as well. So it was like a cool moment. Like we were like, in the moment of just enjoying this asshole that decided to quit, and they start shooting the wall with bullets, spelling out letters. Like we're talking to each other with bullets on the wall, which I thought was really funny. And he put like a question mark at one point. I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to say, but all right, that's cool. So, moving forward, just jumping around, having a good old time. Well, all of a sudden, his teammate quit, and I was like, okay, well, that's okay. He quit. I thought they were just going to kill me, but he quit. Then the other guy, I'm fucking around with him for another, 30 seconds or so, and then he quits. And I'm like, well, I just got to win. So the game says you win, game over, and I get the win. Well, then my rank pops up, and of course I got ranked for the 5th match. And that screen goes away, and it pops up and says, you've been banned for 15 minutes. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I got banned. Yeah, I got banned because they thought their cheat detection thought that I was cheating because I literally had 0 kills and 1 death, and everyone else quit around me. So it was obviously automatic cheat detection, but I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Back in the day, we used to have tons of fun doing shit like this, and just can't have that fun anymore. I don't know.
That's why I didn't get the nominee for community support, to be honest.
It was that specific reason, yeah.
Yeah, that must be it.
It's all about the what is it, the end EOMM, whatever it's called, the making sure that everybody must have 50% win rate. Everybody must play their games you must sweat the entire match. You will be happy.
Yeah. Which normally I am happy with that, but yeah, I was not happy with that. All right. Moving in to the topic of the show, the Game Awards nominees are here. So I held it back a little bit. Obviously, we don't have time, or nor do people want to sit through us go through every single thing. So I thought we would hold it back, like the top 5 that we want to talk about. Of course, we're gonna have predictions here in a few weeks or a couple weeks, whenever that will be. But we have some, ones that stand out for reasons. I put 3 here for different reasons that we'll talk about. But if you guys have any what you want to add after the 3 I put in here, we can add those on the go here. But starting with the biggest one, Game of the Year, guys. What were your thoughts on Game of the Year? Who got snubbed? Christian, why are you raising your hand? Just fucking splurt it out already,
Splurge, baby.
I'm having to work on my memory because I'm on my mobile, so I don't have the actual nominees in front of me.
Oh, okay. I can read them out. Here they are.
Please, put that first.
Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4 remake, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
I think the two biggest one for me is that Spider-Man 2 being up for both Game of the Year and Best Narrative, I think is a personal one for me, where I don't see that being as like a top competitor in either of those two categories. I think one of you two were commenting on the fact that like I can't remember a PlayStation, a first-party PlayStation title coming out and releasing this buggy.
Right.
Because it was, and it still is, and there's still like updates being published by Insomniac that are going to fix some of these issues. Dan talked about it last week, how he was like a cube for a long time. He was worried he'd have to play the rest of the game that way.
Spider Cube, come on.
Yeah, I don't see that as a top contender for Game of the Year. Props to it. I think if we're gonna go with another like PlayStation title, I think a stronger pick I think would have probably been Final Fantasy 16. I think critical consensus on that one was a lot stronger when that came out. Even if it's a bit more divisive, I think that one would be a more interesting pick than a safe one like Spider-Man 2. Taking a spot from something that could have been a lot more interesting. Something even like a smaller game that could have made Game of the Year just a bit more of an interesting conversation, other than like, okay, we know this is Resident Evil 4 is a good game. And let's see go up against like Baldur's Gate and Zelda, which I think are going to be the stronger contenders this year.
Yeah, I think, looking at this list, I think it's interesting as well. Like you said, Spider-Man 2, I think I agree with you that I don't know that it should be in the Game of the Year conversation for bug, issues alone. Like, me playing that game, I didn't play it saying, man, this game is so polished, and, the first game absolutely was, but this one I'm just playing it and I'm like, what? There's so many fucking bugs. The more I play it, the more I'm experiencing this, and that sucks. But the other one that I want to talk about, which I think is fascinating that it's on here because I didn't expect it to be on here, was Resident Evil 4 Remake. And I absolutely love, that's not to say that I don't love Resident Evil 4 Remake. I know, Christian, you're not as high on it as I was, but I would absolutely consider Resident Evil 4 Remake on a personal Game of the Year list for myself, but I don't know if it's necessarily fair, if that's the right word, for a remake or a remaster or something like that to appear on a Game of the Year list. Because, like, largely it's the same, like, narrative and that kind of stuff. And yes, they did improve a bunch of stuff from the original, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I have I think it's funny how there's one issue that kind of relates to all these categories that we're going to talk about, which is that the gaming industry has gotten so big so fast that we haven't had time to kind of find these natural definitions for things. I think a remake like this is worthy of Game of the Year because there was no porting at all. You can't. There's not a single asset that would have been worth to bring from the GameCube and then just touch up. It's that far removed for me that I think because this was built from the ground up, I think I think a nomination for Game of the Year is fine. I think if this were nominated for Best Narrative, that would be complete bullshit for me,
fair.
Right? Because that's where the bulk of the work is already done. And I think Game of the Year, it's and this is why Spider-Man 2 shouldn't be there, is that Game of the Year is not, this is the best idea of the year. No, this is the best executed final product of the year. So that's why, in my mind, it's like Spider-Man definitely shouldn't be in there because as a quality control, just from a quality control standpoint, like it's not one of the best games of the year. And that's, in my mind, why Resident Evil 4 Remake should be, is that in terms of the game of it, like it's a video game, it's software, it was built from the ground up for this release, and it was one of the best that released this year that I played that in terms of quality. So like I think Game of the Year I'm fine with. If it was narrative, if it was like say sound design and they reused a lot of the same sounds, and that's where it's like a lot of that heavy lifting was done. I think that's disingenuous. Game of the Year, I think I'm okay with it, but it is it's an issue with all of these things and the categories that we're going to talk about going forward is that there's this juggling game of definitions that we're playing with video games, and until we can get to a spot where publishers and developers are open and honest about what a remake is, what a remaster is, what a reimagining is, if we can come to terms with all these definitions, I think it'll help with a lot of this stuff, especially with like indie and independent, when we'll get into that. But definitions and categories, we need to kind of lock that stuff down, I think, going forward, to avoid some of this stuff happening, specifically with remasters and remakes. Those are the big ones that we've had plenty of episodes going back and forth about this. What is this? What is that? And I think it's, in my mind, it's pretty cut and dry. If you're porting something forward and you're just touching up the looks and sounds of it, that's a remaster. If you're making new things for something that already exists, that's a remake. But the industry is not all on the same page when it comes to that. So that's a big factor for me in terms of whether this is fair or not.
Like, could Dead Space remake make the list? You know,
I think so. Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't know. Like when I'm thinking of these, the title of the episode's called like Game of the Year nominee Snubs, right?
Right.
I think it would have been far more interesting to have a game like like people are always like, "Where's Starfield?" Like Hi-Fi Rush from the beginning of the year had critics talking about like, this is a Game of the Year contender for like the longest time, and people kept reminding online spaces that Hi-Fi Rush was still like still has a good chance going up, toe to toe against. It's gonna make a lot of personal lists probably.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. When I'm thinking about Snubs, I think it would have been a lot more interesting to have a game like Hi-Fi Rush be in that conversation, other than a game that we've already discussed, years ago. Despite Resident Evil 4 still being a great game.
Should Hi-Fi Rush replace Resident Evil 4? Or should Hi-Fi Rush replace Spider-Man 2? If you're being honest, though, like that's the thing.
I'd probably put it over Spider-Man 2.
Right. Because I think about. I hear you. It's not something that I'm totally willing to die on the hill for. Like I hear you about a lot of the heavy lifting was done in terms of the creative aspect for Resident Evil 4, but it's like that game was built from the ground up and it looks amazing and feels amazing when I'm in there. So like when I'm playing it, I'm thinking like, wow, this specific team made this specific product and it feels fucking amazing. Therefore, in my mind, it should be eligible. But at the same time, like I hear you. I hear like the remake aspect of like a lot of the creative heavy lifting was done. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Here's what I do: kick it out of there and put an Armored Core, baby.
Armored Core, gone and went.
And I presented the question very modestly because I wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were. I 100% think that Resident Evil 4 should be a Game of the Year contender. Just to be super clear on that, I was curious what your guys' thoughts, and
you're keeping those cards close to your chest there a little bit.
Yeah, I think Ro agrees that Hi-Fi Rush should be.
Do you remember when they were talking when Resident Evil 4 remake came out and they're like, yeah, they completely changed Ashley, right? That's her name? I think it's Ashley.
Yeah.
She's like her own character now, and like they start out that way, and then like an hour later she's like back to being like the exact same thing she was in the original game.
It's hilarious that you're saying that now because I hadn't thought about that. Like I remember them saying that beforehand and me being like, "Oh, cool, what a cool change." And then until you mentioning it now, like, no, she was totally just the same.
She has autonomy. No.
She can hide by you can tell her to go hide and she'll do it herself. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Kirik, hang on to that for a second. We will get to that.
Hang on to this too.
Ro, I just want to hear your thoughts on Hi-Fi Rush. I think you agree.
I also want to hear his thoughts on Resident Evil 4 and what you think about that too.
Because I played so much of it, but I do agree with the remake stuff that Gage was saying. I don't think that they should be disqualified from Game of the Year because they did a remake. But I am definitely both sizing this because I definitely agree with what the points that Christian made as well about it stealing a spot, even though there's a lot of the work is done, but a lot of the work isn't done at the same time. Like they had a game from the ground up, but they also are taking things from the original game, but they reworked gameplay, they added stuff and to make it a better game. So I think it should be in there, but you never know if there's going to be a remake or a remaster in a specific year, so they can't have their own category for these games. So they should be allowed to be in the Game of the Year category as well. But it does suck that it's taking away a spot for Hi-Fi Rush. And you guys know every week I'm saying I haven't played everything. So this is one of the games that I did play, and it was fantastic. And I was one of the people trying to remind people that it's a fantastic game. I did a little post about a month ago, but yeah, it sucks that it's not on Game of the Year. I'm glad it got on other nominees. I don't think we're going to be talking about those ones today, but yeah, I'm glad that it got some attention in other places. But even what you guys are saying about Spider-Man is so sad, even though I haven't played it yet. But there were a lot of good technical stuff that they did in that game, like with the fast travel. I was joking, but I'm being serious now. Like the fast travel is insane, and there's some other stuff that they did that really took advantage of the hardware. But of course, those bugs don't really mesh up with the description of what a game of the year is, which is best experience across all creative and technical. And you got one of those, but not necessarily the other one completely 100%, especially compared to the other stuff that's on the list. So maybe Hi-Fi Rush should replace Spider-Man. I would like, and that's coming from diehard Spider-Man fan. But yeah.
Wow. Somebody clip that.
Oh no.
I'm just kidding. Okay, so this is another conversation as well. Keurig brings up in the chat, Hogwarts Legacy got snubbed. Not even one nomination. And
yes, it did.
He said, just so you guys know, I'm still at work, but listening as I repair computers. Awesome. Yes, I don't, and I think I had this conversation with Gage and Glenn on the side, because Glenn loves Hogwarts Legacy as well, and I don't think that Hogwarts Legacy from a critical standpoint would be in the Game of the Year conversation, just based solely on scores and like traditional history of Game of the Year. And you know, we can't attribute what to what the scores may be. Like, obviously scores aren't perfect and all that jazz, but I don't know that it would fit in Game of the Year. However, I do think it's a very similar situation to Halo Infinite from 2021, when I said I don't understand how it doesn't get nominated for anything. And there was multiple things that 100% could have been nominated for. And I feel like the same thing for Hogwarts Legacy. And yes, totally understand the whole hubbub about it, but I also think that there's developers that worked hard on that game, and you know, they're not necessarily seeing the fruits of that. If that makes sense. This was their first
AAA attempt. And as somebody, and I would like to point this out, Keurig, I'm going to be the one to go to bat for you, all right? I don't like Harry Potter. I mean, I need to be careful here because my significant other loves Harry Potter. I've watched all the movies, and I enjoyed all of the movies. But I am not attached to Harry Potter in any way. Not my cup of jam, one might say, with wands and little doing all this. Not really my thing. However, as somebody who's dating a person who is not a gamer and who decided to pick up this game, I was quite often handed the controller to help with certain things. And this was absolutely a quality game. I understand the Game of the Year aspect. I don't know, like I have not played enough of it to know that. The scores, I feel like we're splitting hairs here, because like some of these games that have been nominated for Game of the Year are sitting at like 87, 88. Hogwarts is at 84. It's definitely not a low scoring game by any means. And it's just weird to see people complaining about how there's not that many, like the category of best RPG has only got like 4 or 5 games in it. Well, that's Hogwarts Legacy is one of the best selling RPGs of recent memory. Like, not only was it the top seller of February, the month that it was released in, but I remember quite frequently, because I remember because nobody would talk about it, that like some of these NDP like tracking things would for a couple months after it came out, it would still get top seller in certain platforms. This is we all 4 of us know exactly why it's not being talked about. Like it's not. I feel like I'm crazy here for saying like it's not a mystery. And I don't know from from somebody who is a creative person and aspires to be in the creative industry, I don't know that I can get along with this pattern that we see over and over again. A lot of people worked really hard in this game. A lot of people were expecting this game to be hot garbage. Let's not forget. People were expecting this game to fall flat on its face, and it did the opposite. Everybody that's played it and really liked it has nothing but good things to say about it. And my time that I spent with it, it was an impressive first outing from this studio, and I think it was snubbed. Absolutely.
To your point, Gage, Hogwarts Legacy was the number one selling. I'll just look this up. Number one selling video game in 2023 as of September 26th of 2023.
Huge, massive game that is not that zero. We're not talking about it was snubbed for this category or that category. 0 nominations.
But what does that have to do with, though, with like critical reception though, like selling? Like okay, the Avengers movie sold well, but is that going to do anything? Like,
but it did review well.
award nominations.
It
did.
Yeah.
Right. No, yeah. So I think the and this is just like the conversation to like why was it snubbed when you have like 150 plus outlets? I suppose I don't quite know how the nomination board works. You'd have to say like only a handful of those were the ones that were actually reviewing Hogwarts at the time of it launching. Hence, like leading like probably a large number like probably didn't even play it at all. So you have a large community of people on the board of nominees that probably just didn't even play the game, or more people played the other ones. Hence why it's getting snubbed, because just people didn't play it, and that's why you're not seeing it on the actual list of nominees.
Absolutely, and I want to clarify too, because I get into this argument with people about politics as well, is that there can be something getting snubbed for an obvious reason, but it doesn't one-to-one make it part of like some huge conspiracy. It can be as simple as there is a certain trend in the gaming space to think a certain way, and none of these people want to be the first person to raise their hand and say. Like, it's not. I'm not saying everyone got together and colluded to kick Hogwarts Legacy out, but there is a tangible zeitgeist around this game, and I totally think it's possible that even if some of these people on this board that were deciding on what games to nominate, that like if you're in a room surrounded by people and you don't know what they're gonna say or think, that you maybe don't raise your hand and say, maybe instead of only having 5 nominations for the RPG. One of the best-selling games of the year, or as Dan puts it, the best-selling game of the year. Maybe that should be that was an RPG should be nominated in the best RPG category. I think it's entirely plausible, and I would put money on it that maybe certain people did think that way and kept that opinion to themselves because they didn't want to ruffle any feathers. And I think that I don't know. I've seen this year specifically. I'm going to bring up another game, 6 Days in Fallujah. There is a gaming journalist that all of us follow. I'm not going to say, we're not naming names, we're not getting into that. Somebody that we all follow that signed a petition to have this game canceled. And what happened? Gage was right. This game released and it came and went like a fart in the wind, and that's all it ever was. But I don't know, there's people crossing, in my mind, really big principle lines in the sand over stuff that I don't know that we should be doing this. I think Hogwarts Legacy is a victim of that. I think 0 nominations is absolutely crazy. For graphics, for music, for best RPG, that's wild to me. I don't know. So Kirik, I hear you. I hear you, Kirik.
He hears it, Kirik. For best RPG, you said only 5, but most, I think, if not all categories besides
are they all 5?
Have 5. At least what I'm looking at here. But my question is, what would you replace Hogwarts Legacy with if you could?
So that's totally my my bad.
Let's just move to that category, and then we can talk about that category. How's that sound?
What, best RPG?
Yeah.
Okay.
Move into best RPG, and we can have discussion.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3.
I don't know how it's any other.
Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield are your nominees.
It's so add one.
It's so funny having. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. To me, it's so funny having Lies of P in the best RPG category, but not having Armored Core. Yeah, one of them is like a From Software ripoff.
Is Lies of P? Is that like a actual full-fledged RPG? I thought
no. It straddles the line from what I've heard. Like it dips its toes in the RPG's waters, but it's very much an action-oriented game.
It's an action game.
Absolutely.
Dark Souls and Bloodborne, those are technically RPGs because they have stats in them, and you put numbers into stats. Lies of P works the same way. Armored Core works the same way. Why not have Armored Core?
Yeah, and all the Dark Souls games, those were listed in at best action game in the past, right? Or no?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't either.
To me, this is just funny. Like if Lies of P is like borders that line, Hogwarts Legacy is probably the one that like better suits the category of RPG than Lies of P does.
Right.
So to answer Rose's question directly, Okay, so it's not as big of a gap as I thought it would be, but Starfield is nominated Best RPG. It is met like quantifiably a lower score than Hogwarts Legacy. It's got sitting at an 83 on Metacritic. I don't know what platform I was looking at for Hogwarts, but it was sitting at 84.
Is Sea of Stars nominated?
Yes,
It was,
Yeah.
which I did play. I mean, jumping back a few categories, I played a little bit of that too, which is really really good.
So we have some snubs already. We've got some discussion. Thank you for that, Keurig. Thank you for stirring that up. Not stirring that up. That's the wrong word, but getting us going on that path.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have the conversation about the I word?
The I word. What's the I word?
Ro knows.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Infinity Ward?
No.
The I word. I don't know.
I don't know. Dan and I are
Enlighten
fucking
us.
clueless.
What was the
The
big
next-
Twitter discourse this week for Game Awards? The biggest one.
Oh, yes. Sorry, you were leading me into yes. I blew that one. Best independent game is what you're referring to, right, Christian?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
It'd be funny if you just said no. What the hell?
Yeah.
No.
I was lost there for a minute. I was like, what the fuck is I? I don't fucking know what you mean by that. But best independent game. All right, here's our nominees. Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. So I guess what defines an independent game, guys? Because apparently people
And that's
are
the big
confused.
question, because no one knows in the games industry. You would think.
Yeah, because Dave the Diver is not actually an independent studio, or
Right.
Mint Rocket is the studio. They're not actually an independent developer.
Correct. And they
It's-
themselves admit that as well.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
it's weird because like I said with the remakes and remasters things, we kind of are. I think we're just getting to the point where we have these huge award shows and we haven't really settled on definitions, and it's kind of muddying the waters a bit. And I'll admit I'm somebody who uses if we're jumping ship here just for a little second, like movies, I definitely use indie as a descriptor to describe a movie with a certain style, a certain feel. And in my mind, even though indie is derived from independent, like it is kind of, it's different, like especially in music, right? Like indie music is kind of like, there are some really huge indie bands that maybe get signed with record labels, but you still think of them as indie music because they're just a little bit outside of the norm. And I think that's,
You're using the moniker incorrectly. What you're thinking of is alternative. My God.
I understand, but the issue is that whether or not you agree with it, seems to be what's happening with a lot of people, as clearly by this category that they're using independent to mean like indie / alternative, but it's not independent. I mean, you're saying the full word, it has a definition, but I think the problem is that there's people like me, and there's a lot of people like me that use indie as a certain descriptor. Now, whether that's right or wrong, I get it, but like the problem here is that it specifically says independent. So I think this one is kind of a bit of a screw up on their end, and I think it's kind of cut and dry because it does say independent.
Well, the description of it says for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system, and
Correct.
they have a
Yeah.
fucking publisher. Like, I don't understand how that could be confused or conflated. Like, I think too many people are confusing game scale versus like game
Right.
ownership. Those are two different things.
Right.
Like, I think it's okay if we say like we should have a category of best small scale game or best,
Alternative. That was a great note.
Yeah.
Christian brought that up. Yeah, that's a good
because
point.
then you
Alternative.
can have your games like Grounded or fucking Hi-Fi Rush that are made by AAA developers or Dave the Diver or you know, it doesn't have to leave the confines of independent games or AAA games exclusively. It kind of mix mashes the two.
I have something really harsh to say.
Ooh.
That's going to make
Do
me
it.
sound like an asshole. It's going to be really mean, but I promise I'm one of them. I think the games industry, like on not the developer side, but like the critic side, is in a really tough spot and has been for a few years. There's been a lot of criticism from the inside of critics saying there's too much, anti-intellectualism from our own community. And what I mean by that is like a lot of people have been saying that the move from like actual critics and journalists who are educated in that field and who work in that field has shifted into online personalities and streamers and people who just like don't have educated backgrounds in that field. Not to say like you can't be a self-starter, but you need to be like defined in your discipline if you're going to be in this space, which leads to the conversation this week where people are conflating the word indie with an aesthetic, which is, or genre, I guess, which is very much not the case. Like that indie means something. Like if you look at the definition of the category, it means independent. You're not having a publisher help you with the actual making of the game. People also bring in Baldur's Gate 3, right? But that one's in a weird area because Larian is owned 30% by ZeniMax, but I'm not going to get into that. The only reason I brought this up is just because, like, yes, we critic side, they have to like hold themselves accountable, or even just bring this up to Jeff and be like, this has to be addressed in some capacity because this is not an independent game, and you are now taking a spot away from other independent developers who like very much like deserve to have their chance to be spotlighted in that regard.
For sure.
Wait, Larry. Oh, sorry, go ahead, bro.
No, go for it. Go.
I was just gonna say, Larian's owned by 30% or 30% of them is owned by ZeniMax. I had no idea.
Yeah, and they have like a huge team as well, so there's a gray area there with like how much independency they have.
Interesting.
I was just gonna say that I've definitely been a culprit, I guess, of calling games that aren't indie. Definitely in the past, like Life is Strange is like a completely not independent game, but every time I look at that game, it's like it's an indie game just because of how it looks.
Right.
Which is obviously wrong. Very wrong for me to assume that and all that. But it wasn't until Christian's comment, obviously today, and with all the whole discourse and stuff, that it's so obvious when I say it out loud and when I read his comments, like just separate the two, like define independent as it's meant to be defined and address each game accordingly. And he said, games are games, no matter what was the quote exactly? I don't remember it completely, but it made me just like, yeah, obviously, no duh, games are games, and no matter how big or small they are, just categorize them how they're supposed to be categorized. Because like you were saying, Dave the Diver is definitely taking up a spot by somebody else who could have been there. And I don't know, what do we start calling? We don't need to call them anything. I think that was the point that you were trying to make. It's a
that
game.
was my point. Yeah, because you had mentioned in the Twitter chat, they're like, why don't you have maybe I misunderstood, but you had made an allusion to like, why don't we have like a category that's like for smaller games, for like smaller experience. I'm like, well, to me, like a game is a game, and that shouldn't matter. A 3-hour experience can be just as impactful as a 20-hour one.
I was going to say,
more,
right?
So.
Small experience is kind of like a bit of an oxymoron because you can play a small game and it has a huge impact on you, right? For sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What was that blinking game called?
Oh,
yes,
For Your Eyes.
For Your Eyes, yeah.
That's a game of the year game right there, if I've ever seen one. And
sure.
it wasn't. It was Games for Change, which is great as well. But
I think I would slightly push back on that a little bit because I don't know that everyone thinks that way. Like, I feel like maybe I'm undervaluing some critics or whatever, but I don't feel like people value smaller games the same way that they value AAA games. So like, if you have like Hi-Fi Rush, for instance, in this example, Hi-Fi Rush isn't in the Game of the Year conversation, and that's a smaller game.
I have a counter to that.
Sure.
If the Game Awards wants to be like the marquee experience, similar to the way the Academy is, then I would say they have a responsibility to start including games in that capacity so that general audiences start to see them that way. You currently have 6 titles in Game of the Year awards, right?
Yeah.
Do like the Academy does and push that to 10.
That's
now
true.
You have more spots available to have more interesting collection of nominees, like games like smaller games like Before Your Eyes, etc. So now you have people like oh, I didn't hear about this game before. What is this? Oh, it's a smaller experiences. It costs $10. I can try it right now, and it can have. You start having that domino effect.
That's true, Christian.
That's a very good point.
But then Jeff can't do his medley for the game of the year. I can't afford to do 10. Yeah. That's funny. Speaking of funny, though, moving into best community support, and I put best ongoing game as well because I feel like these two are basically the same category. I don't understand why they have both of them, to be honest. Like, I guess I understand the idea of having both of them, but like, I think 3 of the titles are the same and 2. No, I guess I was wrong about that. There's 2 that are the same in these categories. But like, there's so much crossover between these 2 categories that I'm like, do we really need both of these? Like, we could fucking have a different category instead. But
can you give us the definition of both before we get into this? Because this is something I've got strong opinions on.
Okay, sure. So, best ongoing game is awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. Okay. And then best community support, recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity and game updates / patches. I mean, that last part is almost identical to best ongoing game, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
verbatim.
So
if it's just that the games and best community support had a better Twitter presence. Is that what I'm understanding?
I guess, yeah.
In my mind, community support. See, this is the problem. I feel like these both, based on the definitions you read, they both apply to live service games. It seems like that's what it should be. Ongoing support to evolve the player experience for ongoing games. Like that, okay, I think of something like No Man's Sky, and that's where my mind goes to for like that game should absolutely win because it just year after year keeps doing it. And then the other one, community support, it's like, okay, well maybe you could argue that means something like kind of like what 343 does, where they have a really involved community, and like Bungie's a whole fucking shit show right now, but Bungie used to really be good at that.
Well, wait, they still are.
Apparently they're one of the best. So my very strong opinion on this is that whatever category it's in, because like I said, this is all muddy water. I don't even know. Cyberpunk needs to get the fuck out of this category, whatever category it's in. Because I know it's in one of these.
It is. It's in both.
It's in both? That's fucking insane. Fixing a game after launch is not the same as fantastic ongoing support. We're playing semantics,
really
and you're technically supporting the game ongoing. Yes, I understand semantics, but that's not the same thing. If you order a car from me and I have it dropped off without any wheels on it, and then over the next year I put the fucking wheels together, that's not incredible ongoing support.
And I also feel like ongoing support means you're continuing to support the game at no additional cost. And Cyberpunk is releasing a big expansion that
expansion.
Yes.
The updates were free though.
That is true.
The one that they fixed when they fixed the game.
Yeah, you mean the mandatory updates that fixed the game were free.
But like at that token, it took them what, a year or 2 years, whatever it was, to get this big patch.
That's ongoing support. That's a big patch
right.
that you released a year later.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, if you want, Jeff, make that a category. Best big patch that released a year later. Because unfortunately nowadays you'll have plenty of contenders to choose from.
Man, I agree with both what you guys are saying. I think Cyberpunk is a game, and I'm glad that they did make those fixes, but I definitely don't believe it should be here either.
And I think
who do you put in that 5th spot if you want to make it 5 all the time?
I think that Cyberpunk belongs in the best community support one based on the descriptions, because it says game updates / patches and responsiveness and transparency and all of that. I think that's fair to put it in there. I don't know if it's the best option. I think it's fair.
How was the transparency before all of this, though? That's the thing.
True. Yes.
Right? Oh, review it on. Yeah, you can review it on a 4090 for sure. Xbox One? No, you can't. I don't know.
Me. See, I totally agree with you, but also at the same time, things change because like for instance, we wouldn't be saying that Halo would be in the running for best ongoing support in 2021 when it came out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like things can change over time. And to lead into that, I think that Halo Infinite is absolutely fucking snubbed for best ongoing support. Like, put a community thing aside. I think that Halo Infinite just had literally the best year that it's ever had in the last 10 years. And you're giving no credit. Like, it feels to me as though, you know, Halo continues to be pushed back in terms of the overall mind share of people, and they just forget about it because they just don't care or whatever. And the selection of people, they just don't know or don't give a fuck about this stuff, which is frustrating coming from fans that love this, you know, franchise. And like, you know, Ro, you know, because we were on the Game Awards together when I was fucking bitching in 2019 that Master Chief Collection should have fucking been nominated for best comic. And again, I'm not fucking sitting out here saying it needs to fucking win. It's the fucking best. It's not even nominated. Yeah.
But I think what you said is exactly why it's not on there, is because the people that are voting for these games aren't playing that or don't care about it anymore, and it's probably never going to be on there. Even though it may deserve to be on there, the people voting just aren't playing it.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
Yeah, there's always going to be that room for human error. Like if we're going back to like Hogwarts Legacy, right? It's the same kind of thing. Like I think there's a human aspect to this that if you're the last person and Halo Infinite's on your mind and they've just went around the room and nobody's fucking mentioned it, you're like, all right, well, do I even bring it up? Do I even say anything? Like, because as much as I and in the same boat as Dan, I grew up with Halo. I love it. It's my favorite video game franchise of all time. I love it dearly. I've been very critical of 343 when Halo launched, and I totally agree with Dan that this was a huge snub in terms of ongoing support. And the difference, and I'm going to clarify the difference between this and say Cyberpunk, is that even though there's features that I thought should be in Halo Infinite, it's not that the game launched and it didn't have things that were promised. Like that's the thing. Halo launched in the state that it launched, and we knew what was going to be in there because we played the beta. So in terms of all the things they've added, in my mind, they did properly add those things, and as opposed to something like Cyberpunk, where it's like, no, the game wasn't what you said it was going to be, and now you're fixing those things. So Halo Infinite, in my mind, absolutely deserves to be in the ongoing support, and that's, if we're talking about switches in different categories, that's the switch I would make here. Cyberpunk needs to get the fuck out regardless, and specifically, I would put in Halo Infinite in this case for that. But this is the other thing too with these games is that like Dan, I totally empathize with you empathizing with the devs and saying like, you know, Cyberpunk, they did turn the ship around, like they kind of deserve recognition for that. But it's like, I don't know that best anything that righting the ship qualifies for that, because you're already inherently starting from, you're fixing a mistake, as opposed to you're starting from the midline, which is what Halo Infinite did, and then you're evolving and adding more to it. So that's the only reason why I kind of push back on that, but I absolutely agree with you. Halo Infinite was totally snubbed, and it is unfortunate. And that's why, and this is why you and I butt heads on this, I put the blame on Phil Spencer in terms of like, you need to push this into the mind share of people. You need to be pushing your franchise into, you need to be making this shit happen, whether you want it or whether it's in the zeitgeist or not. You need to be pushing it forward.
And I think
Go ahead.
part of the problem is I hear what you're saying about Phil, but like I think part of the problem is Phil doesn't really have any leverage going to Jeff
or
Keighley.
whoever, right? Like at the time, Matt Booty, right? Like whoever. Yeah.
Well, and I think eventually over time, I feel like that will get better, because as Xbox puts out more great games, you know, now that they own a bunch of studios, hopefully that means they're going to put out more great games. They're going to have more nominations, therefore more exposure. I feel like the problem right now is Phil has no leg to stand on to say, you know, hey, Jeff, like, why is Halo not getting attention? Because he doesn't have a repertoire of games like Spider-Man and God of War and all these, you know, Game of the Year games to sit back and say, look at all of my portfolio that I've created here at Xbox. Like,
right.
I do think that you have a bit of a point in terms of, marketing your biggest franchise a bit more, but I also think there's a responsibility there on the critics themselves to know what you're voting on. And the other thing is that we haven't talked about is this is best ongoing support and best community support. Why the fuck wouldn't you just have this as a community vote? Like, there's other categories that are community voted things. Why would this not just be voted on by the community? Like the ongoing games.
Seems really straightforward when you say it like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's like
it seems really fucking simple when you lay it out like that.
All they have to do is send out a survey that says put your 10, best ongoing games on there, and obviously now you can vote, after the fact, after the nominations have been set. But like, there needs to be some other quality control for this. This specific vote for the community.
Yeah. We're trying to figure out which community is most happy with their game. Why don't we ask the community?
Exactly.
Right? Like, it doesn't. Yeah, you're totally right. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I don't know.
Rashan, how you feel about the Destiny 2 nom?
Yeah, like as I said earlier, it sucks that the people who got it to be a nomination probably aren't at the studio. I mean, there's still some community. Social media managers that are still there, but Liana Rupert got laid off, and she was a community manager for Bungie, and I thought she did awesome. A lot of the community thinks she does. A lot of community thought she doesn't, but those are for reasons besides her performances, because she's a her. But she did a really good job, I thought, as a manager, and it's going to suck if I don't think they're going to win, but if they did win, something similar happened a little while ago when Bungie, I think, won another award in the past, but Luke Smith went up to get the award, and people were not happy about that because he had nothing to do with the specific award that was awarded.
I think it was a community. It was some sort of community award. I think it was. Yeah, it was community.
It was that then. Yeah. So that potentially could happen again, and with the added effect of the layoffs, it would be even worse. Look, in my opinion. So yeah, that definitely sucks. I'm not really playing Destiny that much anymore. I'm keeping up with the story, and like I'm always watching videos on it by Paul Tassi or whatever. So I'm ready for when the update comes out. But yeah, it's definitely a shell of its former self to me, anyways, right now.
Right.
So it's kind of a bittersweet ending that I'm coming to with this game, unfortunately. Yeah.
All the Halo fans about 5 years ago screaming,
Damn.
"Let's get Bungie back." What the fuck are you talking about? We have literally the people that want to work on Halo working on Halo. Why do you want to bring Bungie back? That's not Bungie who made Halo. Like,
well, obviously when people say that, they mean that they want the Bungie of old.
I don't know. Sometimes I don't know about that, because like they say like we want Bungie to develop the next Halo game, and that's like, I mean, that's saying Bungie currently. I don't know. I do understand what you're saying though.
I was gonna say, there's not. It's. I think there's a lot of people that maybe don't understand how video game development works, and they're just.
Yeah.
I do a lot of proofreading when I read Twitter comments. I do a lot of like reading between the lines, but that's. I hear you. I hear you. Bungie, yeah, it's been a revelation of a year where it seems like a lot of the issues that maybe were previously not blamed on Bungie, or Bungie was given a pass for, this kind of year has been a big eye opener for me personally, of being like, wow, there's a lot of things happening at Bungie where there doesn't seem like you can buck this to anybody else. It seems like just Bungie leadership is making a lot of really questionable decisions, and it makes me look back on previous years with a new lens.
Indeed.
Unfortunately.
And the last one here, I think Christian maybe put this in here, but I'll cover it anyways. Christian left us.
No, that was me. And I was doing a bit. It was doing a bit. You don't have to read it.
Oh, okay. So okay. Well, we can mention best narrative because I think Christian did touch on that. He was upset that Spider-Man 2 is in there as best narrative, which
I am also upset.
I hear that.
And again, not compared to my own hypothetical of, I could do it better. Like I halfway through Spider-Man 2, I made a point. I sat down. I was like, I need to rewatch Into the Spider-Verse and see if I'm just out of touch. And I'm like, no, these characters can be written in a way that is really compelling.
And my problem with the narrative is it kind of abruptly ends. Like it
really does.
Yeah, there's no, for me, there wasn't a satisfying, lead up to the conclusion. It just kind of ended. And I also was upset because, which this is a stupid thing to be upset about, but I was upset that there wasn't a better lead up for the next game. Without spoiling anything,
right?
I
think this is what Christian and I were complaining about, though, is that it seems like it doesn't tee up the next game. It seems like it's just expanding the universe, right? Where it's like, look at all these characters, look at all these things that are happening, as opposed to what's happening next in this narrative, right? I think that's what I'm putting words in his mouth, among other things, but it's like it feels like you're setting up an MCU rather than you're setting up a specific narrative. I also want to point out, okay, this is a very specific issue I had with Spider-Man 2. And I think it's a superhero cliche, and I'm curious if Ro agrees with me or not. But there's a problem that I have. Oh fuck! It still came out really recently. Never mind. I can't get into specifics. Oh, that's so unfortunate. There's a specific cliche that happens in Spider-Man 2. I can't even talk about it. Whatever. Never mind.
Maybe after.
Yeah. Maybe quickly after the show, I'll get your opinion on it. Yeah. I don't know. Best writing for Spider-Man 2, it's a hard disagree for me. I think they should have introduced Harry in the first game. I think that would have made a lot of this stuff land better for me, is the problem that so much introduction is happening and you're asking me to buy this lifelong friendship. I think that's maybe
true.
Personally where it didn't connect for me.
It happens too quick.
Yeah, if you had planted some of those seeds in the first game and had, a couple of flashback moments here and there, it kind of would have felt like it led to this big thing, but it seemed very friendship ended with Miles. Harry is my new best friend. I was like, okay, all right.
Fair enough.
That's true. I'm just trying to think if they did do that. I don't know. Because we've seen the rehash story so many times of Harry and Peter and all of that. I feel like that's kind of implied, but I do get what you're saying in terms of, the story progression. It does happen very quickly.
Yep. And just to show that not to show, I guess I can't prove it, but I'm pretty fair in that regard, where if I watch a Halo TV show, then I don't think the Halo TV show is pretty accessible for everybody. This is a hypothetical criticism. If I were to watch a Halo TV show, that's only good if it expects you to be a Halo fan. I do kind of take somewhat of an issue with that, where I think every piece of media should stand on its own. So I think you're right. I was arguing with Guillermo about this at work, where he was like, oh, well, you're Spider-Man. You're supposed to know these stories. And I'm like, I understand it. I understand I'm supposed to know who Harry is and fill in the gaps on my own. It's just, I think
not everyone does.
And not everybody does. And any piece of media that can make you engage with it without relying on filling in the gaps is just better in that. You know what I mean? It's just a better written story. So that was my one issue with that.
Just to tell you guys the other people in this category: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk again, Phantom Liberty, and Final Fantasy 16. So that's the other nominees for best narrative. Are there any others you guys want to discuss before we close out the show?
Close out the show. I want to say that as somebody who has never played Dungeons and Dragons, somebody who is generally not a fan of character RPGs, I am rooting for Baldur's Gate 3 this year. The fact that we can get such a niche game like this that has this much success without any predatory practices, I am rooting for this game wholeheartedly. If this game wins, it's nothing but good for the industry. This is incredible that a game that is so specific and it's such a niche genre has blown up this much. It's awesome. I am so happy for that team there. Like I said, I have no attachment to this property, to this even genre of game, but this is spelling out nothing but good news if this game wins and gets its moment to shine. And like Christian was saying, obviously it would be great if it happens to smaller games, but in terms of a game that is outside of the norm and it's not a first-person shooter, it's not a ongoing battle pass driven live service, if this gets its moment to shine up on stage in front of millions of people, this is going to be, hopefully publishers somewhere will start saying yes to that weird game that studio has an idea about and that this team's really passionate about. I think that's who I'm rooting for this year.
Oh yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be definitely a W if they win.
It would be a huge W. Oh my god.
Hell yeah. Let us leave with the wise words of our father, Jeff Keighley. Nomination week is always a tough one. I hear from teams that are over the moon and from teams that are very disappointed. Gaming and awards are competitive by nature, but ultimately what unifies us is a love of the medium. We know this
Very
man loves the medium.
We all love the medium.
Absolutely. Thank you again to everyone joining us live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. Thank you, Ro. Thank you, Christian, who is no longer here, but doing some nefarious things, I'm sure.
Oh my god.
And thank you, Gage.
Up to no good.
I am Daniel, and this has been Podcast PXN, and we are out. Much love, and keep on gaming.
See ya.
Adios.